drive in the right way. Thank you very much.
So good morning, everyone. So first of all, I'd like to thank the organizer and particularly EFCNI for giving me the opportunity to deliver a talk during this roundtable on patient safety. So I've been asked to talk about safety of nutrition, but since there is another talk on enteral nutrition and fortification of breast milk, I will mainly focus my talk on parenteral nutrition. So that's my disclosure slide. And the outline of my talks will be divided into three parts. First, I will give you our experience a bad experience that we had in France and the lessons that we have taken from this local experience. Then I will move on to introduce these new position papers that you have on your chair, and then I will leave you with some take-home messages. So as an introduction, I'd just like to remind you that parenteral nutrition is an essential and life-saving treatment, but also a high-risk treatment. So patient safety is essential, and we have to provide appropriate parenteral nutrition safely delivered. So the story that I'm going to tell you starts, in fact, in 2013 in France by a series of deaths in a French NICU. There have been large media coverage. In fact, the story starts in a 6-day period in December 2013. 3 newborns died from a severe septic shock in one NICU in France. There was an immediate temporary closing of the NICU for cleaning. This was decided by the local health agency. And they were searching for common bonds when a few days later a 4th baby developed a severe sepsis just after start of PN. But what they found at this time, of course, that all babies received PN through the same batch of standardized parenteral nutrition. So there was an immediate withdrawal by the French Agency for Medicine and Health Product Safety of all the bags of the same batch. In fact, there were 137 bags distributed in 7 different NICUs. And they found bacteria in 6 bags, which has been sent to the Pasteur Institute for identification. And we found a kind of a strange bug, which is called Ruxella chamberensis. It's capable of growing at 4 degrees, so in the fridge, but stopped growing at 37 degrees. So that's why the blood culture of the babies were negative. The manufacturer's liability was put forward, and there was a closure of site of production. And then at the end, the Ministry of Health concluded that besides the local inquiry, nationwide audit should be performed, and that the risks and benefits of the 3 main types of parenteral nutrition should be determined. So 3 main types of parenteral nutrition are individualized parenteral nutrition made by the pharmacy, standardized bag made by the pharmacy, or licensed PN solutions. So after these events, a series of national consultations have been developed across the country. So first, what we did is a national audit, and the report has been released 1 year after the events. And what appears to be clear in this audit is that newborns represent by far the largest number of children receiving parenteral nutrition. And for the whole country, in France, this represents 80% of PN ordering, but in total it's around 60,000 preterm infants per year are receiving parenteral nutrition, which represent 300,000 prescriptions of parenteral nutrition per year. So at this time, they found that individualized, customized parenteral nutrition was the most prescribed parenteral nutrition solution, more than 50% of the prescription. About 1/3 were represented by standardized parental nutrition compounded by pharmacy, and 22% was represented by industrialized ready-to-use parental nutrition. And this report also highlighted that there was a large heterogeneity of the prescriptions. Heterogeneity because of the type of solution which were used, and you can see on the map there was a very different approach according to the region. So in some regions only individualized, customized parental nutrition were used, like here for example. In some other part of the country, in some other regions, only standardized parental nutrition were used. The viability of the prescription and type of parental nutrition was highly dependent on gestational age, postnatal age, mobility, NICU experience, but also, of course, local resources. In total, more than 160 different parental nutrition standardized solutions were identified. And finally, it was recognized as a conclusion that prescription and use of parental nutrition is complex, and that every step from ordering to dispensing are at risk. So, conclusion of this audit report, 40 recommendations were grouped into 4 categories. But there's a lot of work to do in order to improve parental nutrition safety in our country. So what the Ministry of Health decided to do is to implement local action to rapidly improve care. So the Ministry of Health asked the units and the pharmacy to take some immediate actions, which are listed here. Some were focusing on improvement of processes from prescription to dispensation. For example, it has been asked to in the unit that ordering of PN composition should be done by senior physicians and not fellows anymore. That, for example, dispensation of parental nutrition should be done by 2 nurses and not only 1, in order to cross-check and verify that everything is going okay. And the second aspect of these actions were focusing on reducing the risk during compounding. So this has a cost, and I've estimated that in my unit in 2015, these actions costed to our unit about 170,000 euros per year, which represents about 12% of the total medication costs. So in order to improve safety and quality of parental nutrition, this costs money. Then there was a lot of series of national consultations in order to call for plans of action. So there was in fact 4 different types of national consultations we were going on. Some organized by the Ministry of Health, some by the governmental agencies, some by the local and institutional agencies, and also the scientific societies were also working on this problem. And for the Ministry of Health, 5 expert groups were created, one on the parental nutrition in PICU, one for home parental nutrition, one for parental nutrition in the NICU. So I was in charge of that one. And there was 2 other groups, mainly with pharmacists, one stability group and one dispensation group. So we were thinking about how to improve parental nutrition delivery in our country. So what are the potential criteria for evaluating parental nutrition systems? So we have to think that this parental nutrition should be, first of all, adequate. It needs to cover the needs of the babies. It needs to be optimized and be suited to the patient's nutritional and metabolic status. It also has to be flexible. So because we know that we want sometimes to change prescription several times during one day, or at least we want to change it daily. It has to be accessible. So if you have a wonderful system which is not accessible, it will not work at the country level. And it has to be safe, of course. So we decided to work on this problem of standardized parental nutrition, which are made by the pharmacy, since more than 160 different type of standardized PN were identified. So we wanted to propose a limited number of them. So what is the reasoning behind the conception of this standardized parental nutrition solution? First of all, this parental nutrition should improve care, but not only in one particular place, but throughout the country. So we should think about reducing heterogeneity of clinical practices, improve immediate delivery of parental nutrition and nutritional quality of parental nutrition, fill the gap due to the limited offer of industrialized ready-to-use PN, which was really the case in 2015, which is now better covered because there are new formulas which came into the market. And also, what is really important is to adequately design standardized solution, so it has to be easy to use. Physician and nurse should have the capacity to prescribe it very easily. It should be widely available and it should provide flexibility. Of course, it has to be safe. It should cover the needs of the majority of the infants, taking into account maybe that some very small babies or metabolically unstable babies may not be receive this type of parental nutrition. And we are also thinking about minimizing errors. So if you want to do that, prescription should be easy, and administration also should be easy. But of course, since all the system costs money, we are thinking of limiting the cost of care. So for the neonatology group, so the objective was to define a limited number of standardized PN solutions to be used as such, without any addition at all. So we designed 13 standardized PN solutions available throughout the country, 9 for preterm infants and 4 for term infants. Some with lipids, others without, and the composition was pre-validated by the stability group. Then last year there was a release of a series of reports and national guidelines. And so we're aiming of proposing a strategy for the choice of the type of PN. So a decision tree was released. And so we used several rules in order to design this decision tree. So first of all, the choice of PN should be driven by the requirement of the patient. But then the first criteria that we have been using, which prevails, was the choice of parental nutrition solution to be used without any addition and white line, because we think that addition may impair the safety of the product. The second criteria is the choice of a licensed solution over a standardized PN solution. This can be discussed, but the problem that we had in Chambéry, in the NICU, the story as I told you, came from a standardized PN solution, not from a licensed solution. And if there is no possibility to use either a licensed solution or a standardized solution without any addition or white line, then the next choice is the choice of an individualized parental nutrition or a licensed solution with a least number of additions. At the same time, the scientific societies were working, and so what we first of all did, we presented at national meetings, all the national meetings, the good clinical practices for parental nutrition in the NICU, and then there was a release of recommendations from the French National Society, which has been published last year, and finally the publication of the guidelines from the EFSCAN, ESPEN, and ESPR, which has been published in December 2018. So in these new guidelines published by EFSCAN, ESPR, and there is something. There is a lot of new topics, In fact, in the previous guidelines published in 2005, there were 12 chapters. So in the new guidelines, there are 14 chapters. In fact, there is a whole chapter on individualized versus standard parenteral nutrition. And what is evident between these two guidelines is there is a change in paradigm. Indeed, in the previous guidelines, 2005, it was stated that standard formula do not meet all the requirements of newborns, and that may be not safe to use this type of formula in preterm infants. In contrast, in 2018, it is stated that standard PN solution should generally be used over individualized parenteral nutrition in the majority of pediatric and newborn patients, including very low birth weight premature infants. So now, today, we are at this step, so diffusion and implementation of guidelines and recommended practices, and next year we will do an evaluation, an audit. So after telling you the story that we had in France, now I'd like to move forward and introduce this new EFCNI position papers that you have in your hands. Probably all of you know what EFCNI means, but I'd just like to remind you that this means that it is a European Foundation for the Care of Newborn Infants. It's the first pan-European organization and network to represent the interests of the baby and the families. This foundation brings together experts and scientists together with parents with a common goal, which is the improvement of long-term health of preterm and newborn children. So it's really a network, and as you can see on the left part of the slide, so it's a network between patients' organizations, healthcare and research organizations, corporate partners, and policy and advocacy organization. It covers a large number of topics, which start from preconception care, include care during hospitalization and after discharge. And they have built a program, a project, which is to propose a standard for the care for newborn health. So this project is a huge project which has been progressively released. It's a 5-year project which started in 2013. In this project, scientists, experts from different professions are working together with parent representatives and selected industry in order to propose standards. 96 standards have been written on different topics that you can find here, which include, for example, education and training, NICU design, very interesting, ethical decisions, very important, but also nutrition. So in this work, so I've been asked to be part of this work on nutrition, so I've accepted because I think that EFCNI is doing a very good job. So we have written this position paper entitled Addressing the Nutrition Emergency of Preterm Birth, Optical Practice in Neonatal Parenteral Nutrition. So the objective of this paper is to highlight the importance of parenteral nutrition as a life-saving treatment for preterm and ill infants, as well as the need for standardization of parenteral nutrition. In fact, the target of this paper is mainly the policymakers and hospital administrators. It's also parents organizations, of course also physicians, but I think it's the main target is policymakers and hospital administrators, because we have to make them aware of the importance of parenteral nutrition. So it's written in very comprehensive words. So in this paper, the expert panel aimed to create a tool not to replace the guidelines, but to support the implementation of the new guidelines. And in fact, it's the implementation of guidelines can be The way how to implement guidelines can be divided in 6 different tips. So the first one would be to have a multidisciplinary nutrition team. I think that's very important in order to implement guidelines in a unit in a hospital. Oh, that's fine. Thank you. But what is important, and it's well indicated in this paper, is that parents and family can be partners in the care and can be involved in the decision-making processes. We have to think about nutritional care plan, which need to be developed on an individual basis, but taking into account standard protocols. Resources and infrastructure are, of course, very important, and hospitals need to invest. And I've showed you that if you really want to improve the care, you really need to invest in resources, in provision facilities and resources, and in training of all the staff. Quality assessment and risk management is also essential, so regular audits should be done. Regular internal and external benchmarking are important. Information for parents, I think it's essential. Parental nutrition is really important for the care of their baby, so they should be informed. EFCNI is providing some fact sheets. If you want, you can find them on the website. And the information on parental nutrition should be documented in the medical record and summarized in the discharge letter. So as you do for the use of surfactant and things like this. And we have to also think on how to develop and implement local guidelines, because it's nice to have international guidelines, but it's very important to have local guidelines translated in the local language, and also these guidelines, national guidelines, should be implemented and transformed into unit protocols. So what are the take-home messages? So what have we learned from our experience in France? So parental nutrition is a high-risk treatment given to preterm infants. Safety and efficacy should be optimal. Prevention is crucial, so we should not wait for an accident to move forward and take action. Role of scientific society are important, and they should work in close interaction with national authorities. Knowledge is evolving, so national guidelines, but also unit protocols, should be regularly revised. Composition of standardized PN must be adapted according to the new knowledge which is published regularly. PN offer should be flexible, so however, PN preparation on the word should not be continued and should be definitely discontinued. Risks of use of ready-to-use, standardized or individualized solution should be weighted against benefits. And what I've tried to show you also is that action should be taken simultaneously at different levels, at the country level, at the region level, at the hospital level, at the unit level, but also we have to teach the staff for the proper use and preparation of parental nutrition. And I will leave you with this call to action, which are in fact at the conclusion of this position paper of EFCNI. And I think they are all very important. So we should implement the 2018 guidelines and not wait too long. And we have to implement them into daily practice by translating them to national and hospital level guidelines. We should develop and implement a warning system for early detection of errors and adaptation of processes. We should also develop and implement a computerized order entry system if you don't have one, with appropriate interfaces with the compounding units in the hospitals. We should promote research into optimal formulations and long-term outcome of infants treated with parenteral nutrition. And of note, the nutrition section of ESPR is finishing a paper on research priorities in parenteral nutrition. The paper is almost ready to be submitted to pediatric research. We should also think about developing a benchmarking system to measure and compare the use of parental nutrition. And with regard to information to parents, we should start to implement antenatal preparation conversations with mothers at high risk of having a preterm birth and give them information on parental nutrition and breast milk expression. And we should provide accurate and reliable information to parents and families on parental nutrition, as we do for the other type of care we are providing to the preterm infants. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll be happy to answer questions.